Hi, I'm Nikole Mitchell, and you're watching Soulful Discussions.
All right, so hello, hi, how are you doing?
I'm so good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, real quick, if you can just kind of tell everybody kind of
Yes.
how we started to engage in conversation and how you kind of ended up here today.
Yeah. I'm Nikole Mitchell, and I'm known as the pastor turned stripper, and I'm being interviewed for my feet.
Yes.
Britt and I connected in Instagram DMs. That is the blessing of social media. You meet all kind of people, and that's how we met.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, I think I messaged you at first, and I didn't get a response for quite some time, and I'm pretty sure it's probably because you were shooting and
And
going
that's
all
a
kind of
backup
places.
account, so I
Okay,
don't check it very often.
okay,
So it just happened to work out where I happened to catch the DMs, and I have no idea how long you'd waited.
yeah.
Yes, but I
I
have multiple
and
accounts.
I typically like to email. Like I feel like email is a little bit more
I
professional.
personally hate email. It is more
Oh,
professional.
okay,
I prefer DMs. So
okay.
you did the right call with me.
Okay, with you it was perfect then. Yeah, because normally when I DM, I feel like a lot of girls like they tend to get like hit up on DM by random like conversations and stuff.
All the
Like,
time, but that's what made your stand apart. I always
okay,
tell men, like, it's actually really easy to get a model's attention in the DMs if
okay,
you don't approach them like 99% of men, which
yeah,
is like pretty cheesy and basic. If you're just like, if you are thoughtful and intentional, you can get a girl's attention. So yours was different from most men's DMs, which is how you get us to respond. So way
absolutely,
to go.
absolutely. I appreciate that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think I connected with you. We were trying to like tie down some time, and like I
Mm-hmm.
said, I'm pretty sure because of your schedule, you were kind of like some of the dates I was throwing out. You're like, I can't do it then. You're like, I'm
Yes.
gonna be out of town then.
Yes.
But we finally got lucky enough to like kind of settle on this date.
Yes.
Um, can you just tell us a little bit about your thoughts about like first of all like me like approaching you and like talking to you about this? What was like thoughts in your head? Because I don't think you do
Oh,
a lot
I
of foot
love.
content
No,
from
I have
what I see.
fans who are always asking for it, so they're gonna lose their minds when they find out this content happens. So thank you for making their desires to come true.
Absolutely.
Um, I'm always telling men, because yeah, I do get a lot of DMs, a lot of men hitting on me, and it's amazing how the vast majority of men who DM me, their belief is, I will never respond to them. I'll never notice them. I'm out of their league by the way they approach me. They talk to me as though they're less than me and I'm on this pedestal, and you will immediately lose my attention because there's a level of insecurity and I cannot fix your inner problem.
Yes.
But if you come in confident, not arrogant,
Yes.
and like you believe like there's something of value you bring to the table and like there's something we both can get out of this, there's a really good chance you'll hear from me.
Nice.
So I'm always surprised at how many men don't realize how close they are to being able to reach out to the model of their dreams.
Yep.
And so because they believe it's not possible, they do some like cheesy or dumb or way too explicit DM, and they've completely lost their
You
shot.
blew it.
Yes, they
You
blew
blew
it.
it.
But if they slow down and think about what would Nikole get out of my DM,
Yep.
what would be a win for her, that would be a win for me, and approach her as though we're peers and I'm not inferior,
Yep.
the chances of you getting a response from me goes through the roof. It is so simple, but most men don't do it.
I like that, and I'm gonna tell you right now that actually kind of gives me a little bit of motivation for me because like I'll sometimes I go when I look at certain models like I'm like if I see a model who has like a million like
You get
I'm like
intimidated, right?
I'm like I don't even think she's gonna respond to me. She probably gets so much
And
like
that's what stops
attention.
people from
Correct.
getting what they
And so
want.
now you having me second think that like, wait man, if I send it, and to your point, that's kind of why I operate with the exposure therapy portion because it's like the worst thing that's gonna happen is like they don't respond,
Yeah.
but at least I put it out there. So the
Yes.
best thing that can happen is they respond. And they're like,
You
sure,
get
why not?
yeah, and I will tell you, because I have hundreds of thousands of followers,
Yeah,
I check my DMs every day
that's good.
because I'm always looking for the gold.
I
Like
like that.
the 99% is garbage,
Yep.
but where's that 1% like
1%.
you or this it's like, so when I realize I'm checking my DMs every day, I
Yep.
realize people have millions of followers, either they're checking every day or their team is checking every day. So
Ah,
if you approach it that way, like you assume they're going to read this, it's going
I
to
like that.
change the way you write to them than if you assume they'll never see it.
I like that. That literally is just changing the way I'm thinking about
Yes.
things. I love that.
It's
Thank
so
you for the
true.
advice.
You're welcome.
So let's get into some questions here. I got these kind of built out, and like I kind of told you before we started, they're
Yeah.
mostly opinion based. Like you can feel free to answer however you like.
Okay.
No pressure to answer a certain way. Okay.
I love.
Let's start with the first question. Okay.
Ooh.
What's your
Give.
biggest fear?
Oh. My biggest fear. So I remember in high school for one of my English classes, we were given a journal prompt, which was this very question. I was a junior or senior, and I started writing out my answer, which is, I'm afraid that I won't fulfill everything I came here to do and be. Like, what if I live a whole life and I do not accomplish everything my heart desired? That terrified me. But I'm like, that sounds too deep for a high schooler. So I erased it and wrote, I'm terrified of spiders.
Okay.
But that is my truth.
That's
My
the truth,
my
right?
truth is, my fear is, I have such a big mission to impact this world for the better and to make a difference in people's lives, make lots of money, to give away a lot of money.
Yep.
Like, what if I pour my heart out and do everything and I don't achieve it? That terrifies me.
Yeah.
But that also motivates me to make as much money, have as much impact,
Yeah.
and as short of my short lifespan as I can.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and to keep going. That's the
Keep
biggest
going.
thing, right?
Keep
Don't
going.
stop. I love that. Has that prevented you from like trying new things, like because of that, or has it like actually kind of pushed you out and caused you to
Ooh.
like do more?
In the beginning,
Yeah.
when I was on food stamps, it definitely stopped me from taking risks, because I'm like, what if that's ridiculous? How can someone like me, who's so under-resourced, under-equipped, how could I go into build something so big? And then you kind of get tired of being broke, and
Yes.
it's like I reached a point, I'm like, I will do anything to break out of the cycle of poverty. I will do anything to become wealthy that's in alignment with me.
Yes.
And I'm like, I have to do it. My mission's too big. I care too much to let this be the end of my story. And then that propelled me to take risks.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. What is something that you've learned about yourself over the past 5 years?
Oh my God, so many things.
Yeah.
Okay, to be honest,
Uh-huh.
one of the main things I've learned, Britt, is I'm a slut. So
Okay,
now,
okay.
if you know my story, I used to be a pastor,
I do. Yeah.
right? So like, and I went viral as the pastor turned stripper, and I was the poster child for purity, for modesty, for saving yourself for marriage. Like, I tried so hard to fit the script that was passed down to me,
Yeah.
only for me to realize many, many years later that I've always been a closeted slut.
Okay.
And I had to do a lot of work around believing that that was okay,
Yeah.
that I could find happiness and fulfillment, that I could find love, that I could make money, that I would still be a respectable member of society, because all the conditioning taught me, if that's the path you choose, you're ruining, you're done. And here I am. I like to say I'm a professional slut.
Oh, okay.
And I am the happiest I've been. I'm the healthiest I've been. I'm the wealthiest
that.
I've been. And that is definitely one thing I've learned about myself.
I got two questions kind of follow up on that. Okay, so one, like, do you look at that, because a lot of people look at that word as a negative, right?
Yep.
It's an automatic negative
Yeah.
to you. But do you look at it as more of like a positive, like it's more explaining who you are and like what
Yes,
you like?
I reclaimed it, right?
Okay.
So same thing, I'm also queer, and that's usually used as a derogatory term. And if you call me that as an insult, I'm like, thank you, because you're right, and I love it about myself.
Yeah.
I feel the same way about slut. People try to use it to tear you down, but if you can reclaim words that have been used against you or your people, I do believe that's how, at least for me, I take my power back. And like, you can't insult me with that word when A, it's accurate, and B, I take pride in it. So it is for me a form of empowerment. I know for another person it would be a total insult, but that is not the case for me.
That's dope. And then the second question would be like, so going from being a pastor to being a stripper, like it's a 180, right?
It's crazy.
But I guess like how have you found that to be in terms of like now that you're here at this point versus maybe at the beginning where maybe, like you say, a lot of uncertainty. I don't know where things are gonna go.
Oh my gosh.
How have you found it to be now? Like, is it something that you're like thriving in?
Oh,
kind of enjoying?
absolutely thriving in. Like, I really feel like I have found my calling. I joke, but I'm not joking when I say every time I take off my clothes, it feels like that's what I was born to do.
Okay.
I was meant to get naked. I feel like a modern day like priestess or seductress. I have this deep belief that every person deserves to be seduced, and I think it's a lost art. I think it's a pack. We have so much fear and baggage around surrendering to pleasure, and I love helping be the person to like help you lose yourself to pleasure, because you will be found in the end. So I find there's actually a lot of similarities from my pastoral work to my adult work. They're both holy.
Yep.
I was a mega church pastor, so that requires a lot of like being very demonstrative and like kind of performative on stage.
100%.
Making adult content is performative and demonstrative, and I had a flock here with my church. I have a flock of my fans over here. There's a lot of crazy
right?
similarities
Yes,
from
yes.
two opposite industries. There's just a lot more money to be made over here.
Yes, there is. And I think so. One more question that just came up in my mind.
Yeah.
In terms of, because like you spent your life kind of like fitting into this one
Oh,
box, right?
totally.
And then you go into another box. I mean, did you feel like a lot of pressure trying to like conform to like something that maybe you didn't feel comfortable with, like as you were doing it? Like I'm talking about the pastoral.
Oh, a
Work.
million
Like, did you always feel like
percent.
there was pressure? Like I'm doing this, but I kind of feel like I don't want to do, or it's not. I'm not meant to do this, right?
I was raised in my conservative religion is to my peak pinnacle of womanhood is to get married to a man, have his babies, and stay home with them. And I did that. I followed that script, and I was miserable. And that's when I was like, there has to be more
Yes.
to my story. There has to be more than this, because this, I felt lied to. I felt duped. And then, in fact, when I decided to become a pastor, that was actually a sin, because in my upbringing, women are not allowed to be leaders or teachers or pastors.
Yep.
So when I decided to become a pastor, that was my first coming out to my parents.
Okay.
And they freaked out.
Yep.
And I'm eating my words now, but back then I said, well, can we at least agree that at least I'm not a stripper or a drug dealer?
Okay.
Can we just be happy that I want to tell people that God loves them, and they couldn't? Well, now I'm adult content creator who enjoys some other stuff on the side.
Yep.
So I'm eating my words now, but even that, me becoming pastor was a small part of me reclaiming my agency, even though it was not ultimately what I was meant to do with my life.
Yeah, but like I think this, right? This is kind of like I grew up in the church as well. Like I mean, from a young age, all the way up until like probably when I was like 20, 25, when I finally like realized like there's other religions out there. There was like so many different things, and I was like, well, what makes me think that this one specific thing is the thing that's supposed to lead me to wherever I'm supposed to be, right?
Yep.
And I can remember having those same conversations. Like I talked to my mom. My mom thought like, like all my children are like out there. She like completely lost it. And she was like trying to have a conversation with me, and I was just telling her like, well, mom, this is kind of what I believe. Like I don't feel like there's one specific way. I feel like you find your way. Like if you look at the way that the world is made with like so many different roads to get to like the same place, why would life be anything different than that, right? And so like I kind of was like telling that to her, and she's kind of learned to accept it now. But before, like,
I'm sure she was
close.
terrified. One of my favorite analogies actually comes from Finding Dory, the
Okay.
movie. Have you seen that?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not.
You should, even though it's a kid's movie, it's so powerful. And I'm going to ruin it for you.
Okay.
But at the very end, so Dory gets separated from her family, and they, unbeknownst to her, they had spent their entire lives looking for her. And they had their home, and what they would do, because when Dory was being raised by them, she had a very forgetful memory.
Yep.
So they would lay seashells out from different directions from the home, saying, if you ever get lost, look down and follow the seashells home from school, from your friend's house, or whatever. But one time she got too far, there were no seashells, and that's how she got lost, right? So the whole time she's off lost, her parents have their little house, and they take 1,000,000 seashells from every direction from their house, so that no matter where Dory's in the ocean, if she just looks down, it will lead her all the way home.
Yeah.
And I felt like that's how I view the universe, that no matter where you are in the world, no matter what path you're on, you will find your way home. Like love will always find a way. So
I love that.
I resonate
That's
with
deep,
you.
man. That's deep, man. A lot of people don't know that you can find messages like hidden.
Right? It's like, I love that stuff.
If you could learn a new skill instantly, what would you choose?
I love this question because I wish I had multiple lifetimes. I want multiple careers. I want to be, and this sounds so cheesy, but I want to be an airline attendant. I love flying. You know this. I travel almost every week or every month. I love flying. I'm an extrovert. I love people. I don't know why I'm drawn to that. People are like, you'd hate it. Maybe I would. But I want to be an airline attendant. I want to be a Broadway musical star. I want to be an A-list celebrity in top grossing movies. Like, there are so many things I want to try. I want to be a gymnast. So I'm like, God, that is such a hard question. I've wanted to be a pilot.
What is something, I guess I'll ask you this way. What is something that you think is easily attainable from that list that you're like, I could do this like tomorrow, the next month or whatever, something like that?
Okay, honestly, I do think being a pilot is easy. I got to fly a plane last summer, and the guy was explaining to me like how many hours it would take, and I was like, it was like very doable.
Yeah.
And the only reason I didn't do it is you have to drive to a hangar, like
Yeah.
an hour to a hangar, to go up in the air for maybe an hour or two, because it'd be a small 2-person plane, and then come back down. And I'm like, I'd rather spend that money on my plane and my training on like a luxury car that I can drive in every day. Like my dream is to have a Lamborghini someday. I'm like, I want to be in a Lambo, right? And I do nice trips all the time, so it's like, the access, the accessibility is what matters to me. If I have to drive a long ways to only enjoy it for an hour or two, I don't know if it's worth it. So I'd rather channel that into something I can enjoy on a more regular basis.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Would you consider yourself to be an overthinker?
Oh yeah, I'm a recovering overthinker for sure. I think anyone who has anxiety, of which I do have, and I take anxiety medication. If you have anxiety, you are a professional overthinker, and I am a recovering professional overthinker. Medication really does help, so I do believe in medication. Please get it if you need it. That helps with me not overthinking. But I also think it's also been it's a two-edged sword. It's really good because I feel like I'm a very thoughtful person. I'm very intentional about what I do. I think people think some of my life decisions have been haphazard or last minute. There is no haphazard decision I make. You cannot, as an anxious person, there is no haphazard. You have overthought, which can be really good until it paralyzes you, overwhelms you, and shuts you down. And so it's where, again, the medication can help balance that out. But yes, I've definitely been an overthinker for most of my life.
Love that. Are you someone who is easily influenced by others, or are you the influencer?
Ooh, I would say I'm more of the influencer. Okay. Even when in my churches, when women and girls were not allowed to lead, they would like make an exception for me. Like, how about you lead this event? How about you come up and speak? It's not preaching, you're just speaking, because I have this influence and I love it, and I try to be a good steward of it, because again, that can be misused and used to overpower and exploit people, and I try to use it in ways that empowers and uplifts. So yeah, I'd say more on the influential side.
Love that. Before this interview, how did you view your feet?
My feet?
Yes.
Okay, this is so funny you asked this. When I was in Bible college, when, I was raised in a religion where like loving your body was not a thing. Like, this is just a temple. It's not about you. It's about God in heaven. But I remember thinking in college, and I told my best friends at the time, she was so offended as a Christian. I was like, there are 2 parts of my body I really like. It's my butt and it's my feet. And I didn't even know feet.
You didn't even know
I didn't know. I did not know feet fetish was a thing. I wish I'd known all this 20 years earlier than I discovered it. But I love my feet. I don't give them the justice they deserve. My fans who ask for it, I don't have a foot fetish, but I like my feet, and I wish I would slow down more often to make foot content for my fans, because your channel shows you have a massive channel. People love it, so I'm excited to offer this not just for your channel but for my fans as well.
Absolutely. So there's something new for the fans.
Yes.
To be able to look forward to. There you go. Have you ever received compliments about your feet? And then second part to that, men or women who have received compliments from more?
I definitely receive them all the time on my social media and on my OnlyFans, and I would say vast majority are men. When I do get a female subscriber, I die. I'm queer. I love all genders, but there's just something so beautiful about women having permission to love other women, especially in a room full of men. So vast majority are men, but when I get that woman in there, I get so excited.
And I literally have women who follow my channel.
Yes, so totally.
I've interviewed women who have told me, I remember this one woman in specific, I was talking to her and we were having this discussion, and she was like, I like men's feet. I like to have my guy
I love that.
See? Like that.
Are you subscribed yet? If not, you're missing out on beautiful conversations with beautiful women with beautiful feet. Subscribe now.
Stuff like that. And I was just like, that's really
everyone
dope.
Has their thing.
Correct. And
you
don't hear that too often, so I was just like, that's really dope, man.
I love that.
A lot of people consider the foot community to be weird, right? They consider people who you like feet, it's like, that's the absolute worst thing that you could ever be into.
It's just so crazy.
What is something that you think that could change the perspective that people have for that?
I always tell people, talk to the people in the group you're afraid of or that you judge. Can you lean in with curiosity rather than pull back out of judgment? Because fear can't survive proximity. If you spend time with someone who's different from you and you understand where they're coming from, how can you not understand and see it from their perspective? So I just think spend time listening to the people who do the thing, not talking to people who talk about the people who do the thing. There's a disconnect there, and there's a gap and a judgment there. Talk directly, follow the channel, And I think you'll start to see like the humanness and the normalcy behind it if you just slow down and listen.
Absolutely. And I always throw this out there because I've interviewed some women who will be like, as soon as I get to that portion, they're like, oh, that is so weird. That's absolutely. And I was like, so in terms of compliments, and I'm like, so if a guy complimented you about anything else about your body, right? Guys that are into breasts or butts, right?
Right.
They're not considered to be somebody who's
Not
weird, right?
creepy or weird,
Yeah,
but
it's just
yeah.
like, that's a normal thing because people hear about it so often that it becomes normal, right?
Yep.
And I was like, that's what I'm trying to do here. Make this
I love
more of
that.
a normal conversation.
Yes.
Like, the more people hear about it, so.
And it's huge. I don't think people realize how big. I mean, I didn't even know it was a community
Yeah,
because
you're
I was so indoctrinated and so cultured and censored. But once I got out, and even now, I don't think I'm fully aware of how big it is. But I found your channel, or I looked at your channel, and I have a ton of fans who love feet, and there's entire social media accounts dedicated to feet and legs. Like,
Yep.
it's just another body part like anything else, and
Anything else?
appreciate it like anything else. And I think there's nothing wrong with that.
That part. How often do you get pedicures?
Every 3 weeks.
Every 3 weeks.
My appointment's tomorrow.
Gel? Yeah,
I do gel.
That.
Yep.
We
Yeah.
You're like, I'm gonna be a day late for the pedicure.
I know, I'm like a little sad because I'm like, they don't look their best,
yeah, but they still look good.
they're
They
real.
still look
It's
good.
they're real feet.
Let me ask you this: have you ever heard of a podiatrist before, like going to get like a medical pedicure?
I've heard of it, but I've never done it.
Okay, yeah. So there's like medical pedicure procedures that you can get. Like podiatrists offer like a bunch of different services, but they offer one where it's like you want to get your feet analyzed.
Oh my
like,
gosh.
Take care of your feet. Cleanest possible pedicure you could ever get.
Yeah.
They use, like, the medical grade.
Yes.
So I always tell my people who come on my channel about this because it's like it's something cool. Like if you have never done it, it's like going to see a dentist, but for like your feet.
I've seen that on social media for like somewhere in Korea or something, and because I feel like Asia's like so on like the advanced level of care, but I haven't seen it in the U.S. So if a fan, oh no way!
If you go on Groupon.
Okay.
They actually sometimes have like the deals where you can get like the 2-for-1.
Yeah.
And there's a spot right down in Newport.
Fans, if anyone wants to give me my first podiatrist appointment, this would be amazing.
Hook her up.
Yes.
If you could only wear one shoe brand, a style of shoe for the rest of your life, what would it be?
High heels. I'm a sucker for stilettos. I wear them everywhere. People think I'm crazy. And right now, my most favorite and most comfortable are Aldo. I love Aldo brand, and my favorite store is in Vegas. It's the only Aldo store that I know of that has matching shoes with matching purses. And I'm like obsessed. I wish they had that at regular Aldos. Yes.
That's what I need.
But they're so comfortable, they're so cute, and I'm a sucker for stilettos.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely. What do you think are some benefits? I don't know if you've ever heard of earthing and grounding before.
Yes, I have. I'm not so familiar, but I know what it is. Yeah.
What are some benefits that you think you could get from doing that? Because, earthing, grounding, basically planting your feet in grass, dirt, sand, like standing there and like being intentional about like what you're feeling, what you're feeling in that moment. What do you think some benefits you can get from that?
Oh my God, so many. I think we're so busy living our lives and doing our work and running our households and managing our children that I think most of us don't ground ever. Not even just touching earth, but like slowing down and being still is like not a thing. And I even when we were talking about this, like for our spot, you're like, do you want a blanket? I'm like, I'm open, but there was something
I want to feel this.
Yes, there was something yummy about like because I don't hardly ever sit in grass just to sit in grass.
Interesting.
Right? Like I'll walk the beach. The beach is like, that is my sanctuary. So that's probably my version of grounding. But like, I'm like, let's sit on something in my body yearns for that. I don't think we fully realize until we're in a place of nature how much we need it. And so I'm just grateful for this opportunity, to meet you, talk to amazing people, or meet amazing people, but also like literally have the opportunity to sit in the grass for a chunk of time. It's really nice.
Love this. Cool. So right now in this moment, can we see what your feet look like?
Yes, please come see them.
We'll get some close-ups here.
Yes, tell me how you want me to move my feet.
Right now, perfectly good. Okay, so a couple things I'll notice here. First, the toe rings.
Yes. Okay. I've had that. Yes.
Lovely.
A little decor.
Very good accessorize in there. And then,
thank you.
In terms of your toes, it looks like your second toe is slightly longer, right?
Yep.
Do you know what that's called?
It's not the Jesus foot or something. Is that? I don't know the technical term.
Some people say it's the bossy toe.
Oh, that's appropriate. I'm a bit
but the
bossy.
actual accurate thing for it is called an Grecian toe. So
oh.
it's like a Greek toe.
Ooh.
Absolutely. So
a Greek goddess underneath.
There so there's Egyptian. So if your bigger toe was longer,
okay.
Egyptian. This toe is the Grecian. If like your three toes were almost like the same size, it's Roman.
Oh,
And they have an Asian.
wow.
There's an
Oh my
There's all
gosh.
so many different.
I am half Asian, so I guess I
Okay.
didn't inherit
You
that.
didn't
The
quite
feet.
get that part. Yeah, there it is. But it's still good. Still good.
That's
All
amazing.
right, cool. So I'm gonna have you take the sandals off
Okay.
now. All right. Cool. All right. And then what size shoe do you wear?
I wear size 8.
Size 8. Okay. Does it vary depending on the type of shoe? Like if it's a heel, if it's a...
Nope, almost always an 8,
Almost
which
always
is
an
nice.
8. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. All right, let me get you put your feet out straight.
Okay.
Like this. Just straight out. Okay. All right. And so let me ask you this: how you feeling? Like we met like officially.
Yeah.
It's been about 24 minutes that we've been talking. 24, 25 minutes. How you feeling?
Yeah. So good. This
Okay.
is so fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. And leave your feet out. We're gonna go through a couple more things.
Love.
But love having you out here so far. Let's go into some discussions about exposure therapy. So first, I would ask you, what is it that you know about exposure therapy? Have you ever heard of that before?
I've heard of it. I probably don't know much about it, but there's power in exposure. I actually teach in my life coaching that exposure is the most powerful word in the dictionary, because when you're exposed to new things, it opens you up to a whole new world. And so I teach it in a life coaching way, but I'd love to hear your take on it.
Yeah. So
Therapy.
basically, from what I've learned, this, like I said, this helped me out with like getting my channel started because I'm an overthinker, just like you kind of said, right? And like, to your point, it's been like a double-edged sword because sometimes it's like I can overthink myself out of a situation.
100%.
Or sometimes like I think so much about it that I end up in a good situation.
Yes.
Right? So like I heard about this and it was like all about like going out and putting yourself in those situations that make you comfortable. Right now, we're not talking about going from 0 to 100. Like,
yes.
If you're afraid to swim, right? Maybe you got the right way.
Don't go in the ocean.
But like, there's ways that you can like gradually get over that fear, right? And so what's supposed to happen is like the more you do it, right, the more you go out, the more you try it, right, you'll start to feel like that pressure and all that stuff that you felt before. It'll start to be less, right?
Yep.
It doesn't ever fully go away, but you start to learn to like to live with that. Like, okay, this is basically what I'm gonna feel. I know that, but nothing bad's gonna happen.
Yes.
Because a lot of times we create things like in our mind.
Oh my God.
We're like, we've had bad experiences or we've heard other people.
Yes.
And so we'll say, well, if I do this, this is gonna happen. And it's like, but you don't have any evidence.
Yes.
Right? Like you're just making things up, right? So basically going out there, putting yourself out there and like trying to see a positive outcome come from it, right? And so that's basically how I got started with it. And I've, now I'm at what, I don't know, like 29,000 subscribers.
So awesome.
Like, I don't know, almost like 400 videos, but like just going out and doing this continuous like helped me like find other things in my life like to be like strong with.
Do you ever go back and look at your first videos?
I do.
And see how far you've come? And I cringe at some of my earliest videos, but I'm so proud of that version of me because had we not done that, we wouldn't be here.
That part.
So that's the power of exposure therapy. It's like you just have to get started. It doesn't have to be perfect. No one's perfect in the beginning. We are all clunky and awkward and make mistakes and mess up, but we keep going. And if you keep going, where you'll be is night and day difference from where you started.
So, and I always tell people this, right? Like I started, and I still kind of use. I have iPhone, right? I started doing that, and it was just like literally, I'm gonna
keep it simple. Use what you have.
Correct. I was like, I don't need
get
to go
started.
buy an expensive camera and all this stuff. I was like, because then I'm just making excuses, right? I don't have a camera, so I can't do it, right?
Yes.
I'm like, I'm just gonna go out. I'll make
use what I've got.
Go from there. Absolutely, and it's worked so far. So that's the key thing. Cool. So let's get into reflexology.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, what's your thoughts about reflexology?
I don't know much about it.
Okay, let me give you some info.
Give it
and then
to
you
me.
can tell me how you feel about that. So,
okay.
Reflexology all about the study of like different pressure points we have in our body that connect to like our hands and our feet. Right? These are like endpoints for us throughout the body, right? You got the head, you got the hands, you got the feet. Basically through like massages, acupressure, you can alleviate like stress and tension through your body, right? So not necessarily having to rely on like, oh, I need to take like, aspirin or like take this. Like, you can like go get these things done and it'll actually alleviate tension that you feel in your body. So like for people who have migraines, right, there's actually a portion of your hands and feet you can massage that alleviates that tension that you feel. So you don't have to be like, I gotta go pop a Tylenol or whatever like that.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts?
I love that. My best friend is actually an acupuncturist.
Oh,
so like when we used to live by each other, I moved here, so she lives in Minnesota. But when we lived by each other, she would help me with that stuff. She would do pressure points. She would do acupuncture me. There was, people wear things on their ears to keep the pressure for their headaches.
Yep.
And her life forever changed. She had Bell's palsy, and traditional Western medicine was like, well, you're just stuck with it and hope. Yeah. And she went to the Eastern medicine, they did acupuncture in her and it cured her Bell's palsy. And that's what made her become an acupuncturist, because she saw the power of pressure points and reflexology. And so I learned so much about it from her, and I deeply believe in it, and I miss it because when I lived there, I was much more involved in a holistic community that did that stuff out here. I'm not as plugged into that, but I'm like secretly a hippie deep down inside, and I love like natural ways to support your health. So I'm like, someone come do reflexology on me. Yes.
Cool. So like when we usually get to this portion of the interview, we like to ask about sensitivity.
Ooh, okay.
Right? When you go get pedicures or anything like that, like when the bottoms of your feet, are you usually tickled?
I am a ticklish person as a whole,
Okay.
but I don't get tickled when I get my pedicures. In fact, I get a little orgasmic, dare I say. Like I'm very sensitive to touch, but it's very pleasurable. So like when my nail artist does both my feet and my hands and he'll massage them when they're done, I'm just like
in a state of pleasure,
absolute bliss. And I'm like, please don't stop. Like,
is there any way we can extend this a little bit?
Oh my God. Every time I'm just, and I moan and he just laughs every time because I'm just like, it sounds so orgasmic, and he's just like barely massaging my feet and hands, and I love it.
I love it. So do you mind if we test the sensitivity?
Sure.
Real quick. All right, cool. I'm going to use a brush. This is supposed to like simulate what it is for like when you normally get that pumice stone that they do, okay?
Ooh, okay.
Dig into it. I'm going to get you, if you can, just kind of point your feet up just a little bit more.
Like this?
Yeah, that's perfect. All right, and then try to relax.
Okay.
There you go. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the right. I'm going to go from the bottom to the top. You tell me where it's the most sensitive on your foot, and then which foot is
I'm so excited.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Let's do this. All right, 1, 2, 3. All right. So she, a little bit ticklish here. What would you say the scale is? You're like, I don't think I'm that ticklish. What's the scale?
I'm eating my words now. I'm like, I'm not that.
You're not the first.
That felt so good, though. I'm so sensitive, though. I feel like the whole thing felt amazing.
Okay,
I'm just like...
So it was a little bit sensitive, but
yes,
at the same time pleasurable, too.
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
What would you say the scale is on a scale of 1 to 10? Like 1 being not too ticklish, 10 being...
I would say like 8 to 9.
8 to 9.
I am like such a baby.
I want you to remember what you felt here, and then we're going to try over
Ooh.
here on the left. Okay, here we go. So
okay.
1, 2, 3. All right.
Woo!
All right. And would you say this one is more or less?
Maybe more.
Maybe more.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I got a little trick for you. I'm going to show you this. I'm going to tell you something to do, and then you try it, and you tell me if you feel it more or less. Okay.
Okay.
So here we go. So I want you to wiggle. Just wiggle your toes.
Okay.
You feel it more or less?
Less.
How much less?
I don't know. I'd say it's like
almost
a 3
half?
or 4. Yes.
Oh, okay. So, do you know why that is?
No.
All right, so think about it. We started off when I was telling you about reflexology, like your mind right, connected to every part of your body.
Yeah.
Right? It's almost like a distraction. You're kind of telling yourself, okay, I'm going to do this.
Ooh.
So now I'm not so focused on this, right? But at the same time, what you're doing is like you're sending out like energy, and I'm applying energy so they cancel each other.
Oh,
out.
snap.
So
I love that.
You said left was more sensitive.
Yeah.
Right here. Let's
okay,
go.
wiggle.
All right.
Same. I say it's a more of a 4 of a 5.
More 4 or 5.
But it's still less.
There you go. There you go. Okay.
You
cool.
just taught me something new.
I taught you some new things.
I love this.
Right, so here's what I want you to do now. We're going to do a couple exercises. All right.
Okay.
And I just want you to just, put your feet side by side. What I want you to do first is just bend your toes, make a fist. Tell me if you feel pain or discomfort when you do that.
No.
It's easy.
Mm-hmm.
Relax.
Okay.
Okay, spread. All right. Everybody likes to spread, by the way. That's apparently like the favorite one.
I'm like grimacing. I'm like, try.
Okay, relax. Okay, and then last, just wiggle your toes for about 10 seconds. Tell me if you feel pain or discomfort while you're doing that.
None. I wiggle my toes when I'm happy. I always wiggle.
There it is. Cool.
I always wiggle.
We can stop now. All right, so let's wrap up the interview. All right, so first of all, like with me reaching out to you to do this interview, what was your thoughts initially? Like me reaching out, like coming to you, did you feel it was good? Was it bad? How did you feel about it?
You know, like, okay, 3 things helped with your DM. 1, it was professionally written, so you weren't a creeper. That's what caught my attention right away. 2, you offered money, if I'm allowed to say this. Yes. I do value paying people for their time, their energy, their expertise. So the fact that you're willing to pay, like, caught my attention. 3rd, you had a legitimate channel. So I went and checked out your YouTube. I watched your videos. Oh, and then a 4th that you don't even know, but maybe you do know. Okay. When you said your name was Britt, I thought you were a woman, and it was an instant yes to my body.
I didn't know
if I knew you were a man, I still would have done it, but there still would have been a little bit of hesitation. I would have I still have done the same vetting process, but when I thought you were a woman by your name, I was like, oh, I'll do anything for a woman, right?
Absolutely.
But I would say those things all made it easy to say yes. And I always tell people, because I help people pitch to the media to get like on how I've been on Dr. Phil and Jimmy Kimmel. There's a way to pitch for them to say yes to you. And I always say, make it so easy for them to say yes. And that's exactly what you did. Professional, offer compensation, had a professional channel. Your name was kind of that great accident. But when you make it easy for someone to say yes, the chances of them saying yes are way higher than if you are last minute, lazy, and intimidated. I'll just ask. So you can say you asked, but you kind of sabotage yourself. So you did all the right things.
Appreciate that. Appreciate
well
that.
done.
I'll thank my mom and my auntie right now for the name. Naming me Brittany. My mom wanted to name me like Michael or Anthony. My auntie was like,
that's
studying British
amazing.
for history, and she found there was like an actual region that used to be named Brittany, and they named the boys.
Oh,
the royal
no
family
way.
Yeah. So she was like, oh, Brittany.
Oh,
So,
I love that.
if it
But
wasn't
history.
for auntie, thank you, auntie. You probably wouldn't
Yeah,
be here.
exactly. You made this happen.
So
I love that.
Secondly, I asked you in terms of like the questions that we kind of asked and everything, like kind of like the whole path of like the interview. Did you feel like everything was good? Did it make sense? Did everything kind of like lead you? Was it a flow to it?
Yeah, I'm someone who loves interviews. Like I love meeting people. I love sharing my story. And my personality is also very open. It's a very open book, and so it was a great flow. You did awesome, and I loved it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Last thing I'll ask you. So I started this. It was actually the person on my 6th interview that suggested this to me. Something that you can say to the channel, right? Ooh. Maybe it's an experience that you've been through. Maybe it's some wise words somebody passed it on to you. Something you can leave the channel with that may help them in terms of when it comes to like trying new things and things like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was a keynote speaker at a shameless sexuality conference this weekend, and my topics were on sex and money. Those are my 2 favorite things to help people have as much of in their life as they desire. So I help people get richer and hotter is what I do as a coach. That's very triggering for people who, for many reasons. But when I saw the pushback from just a few of the attendees, what I wanted and try to communicate to them and what I want to communicate to your channel is if you have an interest in doing something, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. If it's a desire you have and it feels aligned and true for you, my advice would be you have a responsibility to follow through on it and stick with it, because the reason most people aren't successful is not because they didn't try, it's because they tried and they gave up too soon. The reason you're where you are, the reason where I am is because I refuse to give up. And every person's successful journey comes with setbacks, hiccups, heartbreak, devastation, like all the things that people don't know about behind the scenes, but we choose to get up and keep going anyway. Just do it. You got one life. Like, don't get to your life and look back and think, I wish I had done it. Be like Britt, be like me, and be like, we did the damn thing. We did it. And we're celebrating throughout the journey, and especially when we're 80s and 90s on a rocking chair, celebrating that we actually did it and we stuck with it.
To tell too. Like,
yes.
You can be like, man, I did this like when I was this age and I had fun doing it, right?
Yes.
Absolutely, man. That's so dope. Well, thank you so much. We're going to go shoot a little bit more content.
Okay.
Thank you so
You're
much.
Welcome.
I appreciate you, and hope to see you on the next one.
Sounds great. Thank you.